well. Good timing. So don't say anything naughty. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and kick us off. Welcome, everybody. And feel free, if like, I don't feel like talking, I'm eating lunch. If you have questions, thoughts, please share them in the chat. Hida's going to watch those. Sometimes I get distracted, and let me know if I miss one. Or you can just interrupt me. Whatever makes you happy. Okay. So, Kanban quandaries and how to fix them. Where did that come from, Hira?
Fantastic beasts and how to find them.
Yes, I was watching that show when I came up with the name, and I thought it was clever, but apparently it's way too big of a stretch. All right, my name is Jill Stott, and I work at NextUp Solutions as an agile coach, a VP of innovation. So if you have new ideas, let me know. I'm always noodling on stuff, trying to bring better solutions to all of our challenges that we have here, managing our work and working with people. We love people. And just a little bit about NextUp. I see tons of familiar names. So if you're new, if you're like, wow, I've never heard of this company, we're based in Arlington, Virginia, and we do lots of training. Here's just some examples. We do all the Scrum Alliance. I don't do that. I have two colleagues who teach these. Very popular. I'm the Kanban person, right? We teach several different Kanban classes certified by Kanban University. We also have three, actually, we've added a fourth one from the IC Agile. We have a Agile team facilitation that's actually coming up. We have one in July, I believe. It's a great, great class. If you are a Scrum Master or a person who facilitates meetings, it could change your life. And Danny co-teaches that with me. We also provide, oh, thank you, scaled Agile training, and that's only on for private classes because of scaled Agile, which I won't get into that. We also provide coaching. We have expert coaches who've been doing this for a long time, such as myself, and we'd be happy to step in and work with your company, your organization, your team in order to get you to the place that you're trying to get to. All right. So let's cut to the chase. So today's top 5 Kanban board quandaries, according to me. Work types. How do I model work types? Classes of service. What's a class of service? How would I model that? What makes sense? Multiple workflows. Some of the solutions that I'll be sharing in Jira and Azure DevOps, they aren't ideal, but it's all I could figure out. And if somebody has an idea on how to do it better, please tell us. I know there's some great add-ons you can get, but I don't like to spend money, so I'd prefer if they're free. All right, blocked work. Okay, well, what do we do if something is blocked? How do we handle that? What is the guidance from Kanban, right? And then how do I actually do it in my tool? Unfortunately, we are just limited sometimes by the tools that we are using. We don't have the flexibility to just go out and get Kanbanized. That's what I use, and it's fantastic. But sometimes we have to play the hand we're dealt. And then what about work that iterates between steps? This comes up a lot when I'm doing my training. Okay, well, we have things that, maybe you get to the testing column and I have a defect. And a lot of people new to Kanban think, oh, okay, well, it makes sense. So I'm going to take that defect, drag it back to where whoever's going to fix it. And then I'm moving back different lanes. And it makes sense to do it that way. But the problem is it will mess up your metrics. So I'll show you some different ways to handle that instead. Now, if you don't mind, in the chat, if you have other quandaries, could you just go ahead and put those in the chat outside of these 5. And then maybe we'll have a session 2, and that will be tomorrow's top 5 Kanban board quandaries. The metrics. I tell you, I've got a lot of opinions on the metrics in Jira. And I'm just using, by the way, free versions of both. So you're like, understand. Yes, metrics. And also, yeah. Okay. Put that on the Action item list, Hitta. I should do a metrics webinar. Thank you. Okay, so let's, just keep plopping them out there if you have other thoughts. And let's do some show and tell. The dog represents us, and this is the obstacles we're trying to jump over because we're agile. Categorizing work. So two different things, and they're very interrelated, but work types. So if you've taken my Kanban classes, which I know a lot of you have, I'm thinking, okay, so this team, they do different types of work. Maybe there's just two different types. For example, maybe it's new product development would be one type, and then maybe maintenance. Okay, well, we have these suggestions that come in from our existing customers, and they're a little bit different. And so I want to make that obvious on my board and then potentially track my metrics for each one of those components. And also it helps me decide maybe some capacity allocation. Well, for the maintenance stuff, maybe we have 30% of the board those, and then the rest of the board would be those standard items. Now we can start balancing how much work is coming in, or unplanned work. There's a better one. What about unplanned work? Everybody's like, okay, we've planned everything and we're full in our all of our capacity, and then surprise, unplanned work comes in. If I could identify that, make it visible on my board and even in my backlog, and then I can say, oops, we can only allow 3 of these unplanned work items. We left some capability free in order to handle those. So there you go. And then classes of service. And if you have questions on some of these terms, I'll explain them briefly. Classes of service, that's like, okay, and a lot of times they correspond directly to work types. Well, when does this need to get done? Right? So that's the first question. Hey, can you do this? Yes. When will it be done? So you may just have a single class of service, right? If you have a certain type of work and the expectation to turnaround time is 2 weeks for all of those, there you go. Yeah, that's the standard class of service. A lot of times people will semi-reluctantly add an expedite lane. Occasionally you do have those 7-1 defects that need to be addressed and prioritized higher. So that would have a different class of service. So for your expedite, maybe instead of 2 weeks, we expect it to be turned around in 2 days, for example. So you think about it from that time perspective, the turnaround time. That's how we differentiate classes of service. All right, let's look at our tools now. Let's start here. Am I sharing my screen? And I was like, what if I would not share my screen? And everybody is too tired to tell me. All right, so what I've done here. So first, looking at work types. So this is Azure DevOps. Again, just kind of the free out-of-the-box animal. I created a new team in here. And then I used, which I just drives me crazy, how they have, you can use an Agile theme, you can use a Kanban, theme, and it limits to your work types. It's a pain, but anywho. So here I've got my new items. So this would be stuff that's on deck or ready, right? And then in my backlog, pull it over here. This first column, this is my ready column. This says, once I pull it in here, I start my timer in theory. Okay, to know how long this thing is taking so I can build my metrics and say, how long will the rest of the stuff take in the morning? So I have different colors. So what I did here in this tool is I added tags. Let me open this up. Edit. Now. Okay, so see here this tag. So this is a defect that came in from the customer. So I added this as a tag. Boop. And then let me go over here if I'm clicking too fast. All right, so here's the tag that I added. Defect from customer, a lovely shade of pink. And then I went here to my styles. And then I said, okay, anytime the tag on a ticket contains defect from customer, then I want you to turn it this salmon color. Boom, pretty simple. The tags are great. I use those for a lot of things. Okay, and then likewise, you'll see I have a tech debt here. That's a different type of work that sometimes gets unfortunately ignored until it's too late. Oh, we need to refactor. I've modeled those in green. I also like, if you can, I like to know what type of work is before I bring it in. And then if you're working with a product owner, you can prioritize things. Oh, okay, now I can get a better handle of what needs to get done and what to do now and what can wait till later. Questions on our work types. All right, so classes. Oh, sorry, Marva. I saw you came off mute.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Oh, I thought you had a question. You're like, why is she calling on me? Sorry. Okay, so classes of service. So this is how I like to do it. It's not the only way, but I've just always done it this way. I have, let's see, it's kind of busy. So what I've added is 2 lanes here. I have a support, and this is kind of twofold. This could be, a subset of your team. Hey, here are these support tickets, my O&M work, if you will, and there's a faster turnaround time that's expected. So I have that in a swim lane, and then my new development. So if you have the same team who is doing new development work, oh, but wait, there's also unplanned work that they're trying to handle as well. So I like to make it very obvious that's based on the type of work and class of service in my columns. So to do that, I just go to my board settings and clicky on the swim lanes. I could add an expedite if I needed to as well. All right. Now let's take a look at Jira. So very similar technique. So a couple things here. So looking at our work types, let's see, what do I got here? Now I have the colors set on too, and I've also used, hold on, labels. Where's my labels? Oh, yeah, you can also use labels to identify they're similar to tags, what type of work something is. I have it set to color so you can see something on the left-hand side is set to red. It's a different type of work. So the construct here in Jira, as well as Azure DevOps, you have a limited number of work types from the tool out of the box. So it's, okay, I have user story, I have task, I have subtask, and maybe I want to add some other categories, right? And so what I did, and I can never remember how to find this, I went ahead and I added some new categories and subcategories. Let's see. Issue types. So, look, I created a maintenance type. And then it still acts like a user story, but now it gives me that visibility into, hey, this is maintenance work. I could also use that for my metrics to see, wow, we had a lot of maintenance work last month. Maybe we should talk about improving our quality. And then maybe type of work, design work. Maybe you have some UX UI designers or some architects. I could identify it with that as well. And then while I'm in here, I also like to add the subtask feature, and I'll show you that when we talk about defects. All right, let's go back to our board. And then you'll notice here, same thing, I'm using my swim lanes to denote the class of service. I have my expedite here, my maintenance, and then my new work. I have 3 classes of service. Let me just show you real quick. No. So I like this is handy dandy tool. So let's suppose I don't want to take up a bunch of real estate on my Jira board with all these different rows. So what I did for the expedite, I figured, okay, if it's the highest priority, here's a little a query This is under queries. I said if it's the highest, then it's going to automatically reveal that row, my expedite row, and then put the card up there. It gives it that greater visibility. And then when I don't have a highest priority, it'll be invisible. And with this maintenance, I use that label thing like I mentioned before. Hey, if my label is maintenance, is one way to do it, then it's going to put it in my maintenance row. All right. Okay, so there we go. Workflows. And this, this comes up a lot. Welcome, Barbara. Where I have two different workflows. So let me think of a good example here. What if the team is, well, let's go back to that maintenance work versus new development. Hey, when we do new development, maybe you have an analysis where you have to meet with the product owner to make sure there's clear understanding of what the work is. Take it through similar steps that you're used to doing if you're doing software development. And then maybe for, help desk tickets that come in, it's like, okay, to do, doing, done, more simplistic. And there's only 3 steps or whatever your example is. Or maybe design work could be a different workflow than development, for example. So this is what I was able to come up with. If anyone else has better ideas, I would love to hear it. So my tool Kanban, I didn't invent it. The tool I use and some others, Lean Kit also does this. I'm sure you can actually have one board, and then for each row, I could have different steps, and it's very easy to see and to understand. I love that. But these 2 other tools, I haven't found the capability. However, with the caveat, in fact, one of my students in my class yesterday told me about this add-on for Jira. It's called Script Runner for Jira by this Activist. And you can try it for free for 30 days, but then you have to pay for it. I don't know how much it is, but he just raved about it. I think it will give you tons of functionality if you have the capacity for that. Okay, so workflows. Let's go back. Let's start here. Workflows. This is what I came up with. All right, so let's suppose this work up here, it has a different flow, these red tickets, than these at the beneath it. And I would love to just change these little boxes, but I can't do it. So what I added was, where are you? There you go. So this is the equivalent of some check boxes. So if anyone's used Trello, you can put in check boxes. Hey, this step, this step, this step. So this is identifying, hey, we've got to do, the example here is just discovery, develop, deploy. So I went where you just add your new fields, and this is the Boolean field. So as I'm progressing this ticket through, ding, well, that's done. Beep, that's done. Beep, that's done. So I can get that visibility in the actual steps it's going through. So if you have 2 different workflows, it might behoove you, did I just say behoove? To potentially make those column titles a little bit more generic, right? So now it's like, oh, testing, doing, done, done. You could take those up a little bit level and then model the actual steps, the key steps on the card itself. All right, and I did a similar thing in Jira using additional fields. Let's see. Oh, where did it go? Work steps. There we go. So I added this work steps field, and I selected the checkbox option and then added these. So again, you could do the same thing if you wanted to and say, okay, yep, I've designed it. I've done the architecture and I've got the approval, and I can see that, and that will be stored in my data. All right, so that's a tip. Anyone else have any ideas for us? Like, I don't know, you're the one doing the webinar, Jill. Sheesh. All right. Okay, so next, blocked work. So what happens when something is blocked? And then the thought here, it's blocked, but it's going to be coming back to our team to continue working on to completion. So it might be blocked because, hey, now we need to send this to another team who's going to do some work on it. And then when they're done, it's going to come back to us. That's a common cause for blocked work. Some people might want to call it waiting. Someone mentioned that in my class. Hey, I prefer waiting. That's cool too. So if, like in our Kanban systems improvement class, we talk about what's called blocker clustering. I'll tell you why you should care. So if things are very seldom blocked, it's not an issue. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about adding these extra fields. It will just add more bulk to your tickets. But if you see that that's a consistent issue, particularly if you have interdependent teams, it will be. I want to start collecting data to see, okay, how long are things blocked? How long are we waiting on this other team, for example? And how much of our entire lead time for a given ticket is spent just sitting there waiting? That would be very valuable information to give that systems level view of what's going on between these multiple related teams, so we can make some system changes potentially to improve it on all the different ends to increase our throughput and decrease our lead time. So what I would like to capture is the date an item was blocked. Okay, so here it's blocked. It was blocked on April 20th, 2022. And then the date it was unblocked. All right, we're going to remove that blocker, and maybe it's 2 weeks from now. And then the reason. So what you might want to do is populate your reasons in a drop-down menu. Okay, there's these 5 different reasons, just so you can collect the data in these little containers. And then I can say, oh, you know what, the reason being unavailability of a special, no, that's a dumb one. How about requirements issue, right? We start working on something and, oh my goodness gracious, we don't even have the requirements set up. Oh, it turns out, now that I can see the data, 50% of our work items are due to this requirements issue. Now that's data you can use for a conversation. Oh, well, what's going on? What can we do upstream in order to alleviate that cause of delay when we start working on things? All right, so let's, in Jira, again, just adding the custom fields. This is actually quite easy once I figure out how to add a custom field. Okay. Let's see. So if you go down to, let's pick one of these. So right here, I added the block reason. I have a drop-down list. Hey, it's a dependency. I select that. And this is a date field that I added. Started here. And then, I'll say it's a 1-day block. And then, hold on. Oh, where's my flag? And then you could flag it if that made sense to bring more visibility. And I also added, here we go. I like symbols, and I like symbols that I have more control over. So I went to the priority customization option here, and this was not too hard. I added this blocked priority so I could see that right there on the card. You noticed I added some others. Defect found in test. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so there he is, blocked, and I have that data that I can then download and read it. Blocked. All right, Ari, can the blocked dates update automatically? You know what? I might be able to do that, but I might have to do some finagling and coding. Right now, it's all manual, the way I've just showed you. So, good question. Okay, so let's look at that here in our Azure DevOps. So, same thing. I added those 3 custom fields. Let's see if we, I don't know why I can never open these. All right, same here. So I added, hey, whoops, that's not right. The blocked start, adding the date here, ding, and ding. That tells, so the calculation will be end date minus start date of block. Oh, it was blocked for 5 days. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And then my blocked reason, same here, dependency, save and close. All right. All right, here's a fun one. Work items that need to iterate between 2 steps. So when we talk about Kanban, we have our columns set up, and the thought is, hey, work items will flow from left to right in a linear fashion. But especially with complex work that all of us do, our knowledge work, sometimes I take it to a certain column, and then intentionally I need to go back and iterate between 2 different steps. So examples of that could be data analytics. Boy, that's complicated, where I have a hypothesis and then I have to take it to the other group. They test it out. Then it comes back to me and I have to refactor. And that could spin who knows how long, right? So it's not a tight time box. Also, here's a more common maybe for this group. What if the ticket gets to quality control and there's a problem with it? This cookie's overburnt. Rather than taking that ticket back to development, what I want to do is make it obvious. Hey, this is the highest priority. We got to finish this puppy. I don't want to mess up my metrics by pulling it backwards. So, lots of words here. Let me just show you. Put this in there so you can use it as a reference when you watch this video over and over again. Now, let's go back here. Okay, so I'm in my Azure DevOps board here, and notice if it's something that happens almost every time with every work item. You say, okay, we know that once it gets to this step, I'm going to have that back and forth. It's just part of the process. If that's the case, add a column. Add a column. This is where we do it. This is how we do it. Okay, now I need to do that what did I put? Circular feedback, where I'm iterating on something. It could be design stuff, or maybe this new idea you have. Okay, well, I'm going to make a prototype, but it's going to go around and around. Rather than creating new tickets for that or moving it backwards, it's an easy way to do that. Okay, so, and then you're like, okay, now what? And then for the ticket itself, actually, let's pull him over there. Get over there, you. And then once I've added that, you could add tags. Again, my good old tag buddy, to say what state it's in. Okay, well, let's see. I am reviewing it now. Save and close. Let's see what it looks like. Reviewing. And I set up another tag style to show that color. Like, okay, I reviewed it. Now I have some information I want to give back to my colleague. So I could toast that. And now it goes to her. Of course, I'm adding notes and feedback. And save and close. Updating. All right. Any questions on that in DevOps? All right. I'm seeing a thing in chat. I'm going to look at that in one momentito. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So Jira, similar thing here. Oh, did I do this? Yes, you would add, actually, this is the same. You would add a column and do the same thing using your labels to have it go back and forth. You could also potentially add a priority that changes the priority that flags. I just like to see those items on the front of the card so I know where it's at within this stream. You could even, I just had a thought. You could potentially change the color of the card based on a given status or label or tag. So I want to talk about the second part. What if it's just occasional where something needs to go back? So I'll use our Jira here as an example of that. So let's see. Let's suppose in our workflow here, let's close these. You're getting in the way. we're doing our analysis, we get down here, and now we're validating. We're closing the loop to make sure we did the right thing. So here I have this, actually let's start here. So let's suppose one of your user stories is we need to plan a staff party. Everyone's burned out. So we plan a staff party, and then it gets to a certain point and we find a defect on it. Keep reopening this. So here's a couple things I did here. So I create a subtask in Jira. It's very Jira specific. And then I think I showed you before how you can add different item types. So I added this. Oh, where is it? Yeah, where is it? Oh, there we go. Defect found in progress. So, and this differentiates it from a bug, right? Which a bug would be, at least in these tools, that's something that was found by our client. So that's what I'm trying to differentiate here. Something found by our team before it went out to our client versus something that they found. And you want to handle those and gather metrics in a different way. And then how you improve on those would be a little different as well. Okay, so once I do that, and I just say, hey, do it. And then I save it. And anyway, there we go. And then that actually creates another card, which this confuses me. Like, I wish it would just show up, but I guess it does in a way. So let's do that. And then I can add that to my flow and have those tied together. So I'm going to say, hey, this isn't done until all those are done. Otherwise, you're just kicking the can down the road. You're going to have a lot of poor quality. All right, so that's an idea, something that or something similar if it's occasionally coming and it has to iterate back. Questions, thoughts? I'm reading in the chat. Thank you, Sandra. So she says that regarding, or they say, set a different WIP limit for defects versus features. I think this is from before. Yes. We set up a separate board and separate filters and separate workflow so two areas could share the same environment. I love this. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. Thank you. So there's so many options. In fact, what was I saying? Like, there's things that they have here in Jira and Azure DevOps that they had in their heads a specific reason, but you can use them in different ways. You can use them like off-label, like they do in pharmaceuticals. And it's not elegant, but you know what? At the end of the day, I gotta get my job done. Boop. All right. Okay, that is our 5. Wow, that went fast. Let's open up the area 4. Questions, thoughts, concerns. Oh, Matthew, thank you. Matthew, and they use subtasks in Jira to denote testing on a user story. I like that. Let's see. Since Jira doesn't allow subtasks of subtasks, what would you recommend for defects found in QA that the developers need to address? I'm assuming what you're saying, Matthew, is, hey, what if I have a subtask and then underneath that I want to flag the defect? So I would just bring it up a level, create another subtask. It will be connected to that parent construct, and then they could actually take that child and then move it through from left to right, but you would still have the data on that parent card. What else? Oh, you know what? You guys have been such a good audience that I'm going to share something with you. I keep saying, I feel like I work for them, but I don't, that I use the tool Kanbanize. And I really like it. And they like me too. So if you look in the chat, I think they like me. Yes, metrics. Okay, so if you're interested, not to necessarily buy Kanban just because it costs money, but if you just want to play with it a little bit, play with it, create some cards in it, look at the metrics. I'm getting to a reason why I'm telling you this. With this code, you can have 3 months free. If I recall, I hate when you have to give me your credit card and you forget to cancel it, and the next thing you know, I don't have any money. So that's your 3 months for free. The reason I'm telling you is because the back end, the metrics portion of that tool is called Actionable Agile. Actionable Agile, which is a tongue twister, it's created by Daniel Facanti from Pro Kanban. It's fantastic. So this kind of goes to the metrics question. And there's an add-on for both Jira and Azure DevOps. So I suggest play with it, see if it's going to add value. And then yes, it is a fee, it costs money. And then you could make the case that, hey, at least I need this. If you're the one helping manage the work, maybe the whole team doesn't need this add-on, so it won't be that expensive, but it's going to save you so much time. Like Donna said, rather than, and I teach people how to do this in my KSI class, putting it into Excel, creating a bunch of macros. I mean, your time is valuable, right? We want to eliminate as much waste as we can. Why am I telling you this? You guys already know this. All right, so there you go. Tell them Jill sent you. All right, any other questions? I'm not, do you ever go to those meetings and they have it scheduled for an hour, but then you run out of things to say, and so people just keep talking because they think they have to fill the hour? Oh, let me show you a slideshow from all the penguins I saw when I was on my trip to Antarctica. Okay, that's all my content. So Hira, tell them what they've won.
You all have won a copy of today's recording, which will be emailed to everyone who has registered.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Yeah, and check out our YouTube and check out my YouTube. I'm adding some really cool things to that. I always forget what it's called, but it's a lot of Kanban stuff and baking. Thank you so much, everybody. It's a pleasure to see some familiar faces as well as some new faces. We will be having another webinar next month with one of my colleagues, either the bow tie one or the guy with glasses. Oh, wait, we all have glasses. All right. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
All right. See you again.
Bye.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill.